Why have shovels remained pretty much the same shape from the time we first used them, even though they still hurt our backs? Maybe that's just how it's always been. Maybe they're built wrong. Maybe back pain is just part of the job. But I just hate any kind of job that hurts me. But what if the shovels are simply built wrong? And we never reinvented them using the right mental model like first principles to make them better fit for us. If I can break this problem down to its raw elements and finally build a back pain-free shovel, because that destination, bearing that pain, is all that matters. They just hurt like hell.
Get out now.
Feet are already killing me, sort of. My journey, and now I have the most difficult part ahead of me.
I fled there. Okay, but I would do this, no matter what.
I really don't want to do what I do now.
Almost there.
Fuck!
I can see the end. Fuck. Oh. Shit. I delight at the end.
They just hurt like hell.
When you're ready, throw it. There has to be some kind of a consequences.
But before any reinvention of the shovel, we need to go over with the background and the basics of the mental model I'm planning to use. The mental model is called first principles thinking, and it comes as a solution against the limitations of our mind, where we tend to rely on the experience of the others and copy them without questioning it. Our thinking, our doing, our believing, and our knowing, all these come from personal experiences and the experiences of the others. One man discovers, one man invents, one man succeeds. And what do? We copy, we tweak, we repeat. The ways we build, the methods we use, the standards we follow, they all save us time, sparing us from reinventing the wheel. But what if the wheel doesn't have to be made of stone, wood, or rubber? What if we are copying something that is outdated and flawed? It's analogy-based reasoning, and while it works, it is also flawed. It makes us blind followers of tradition, prisoners of convention, slaves to assumptions. If we look into historic backgrounds, we can also find examples. By looking famous inventions through the lens of first principles thinking and add in tremendous passion, work ethics, and scientific approach with big enough why to the cause. What about the first airplane by the Wright brothers? There was this conventional and traditional thinking. Birds flap their wings to fly, so if humans want to do the same, they have to build machines also with flapping wings. If something is heavier than air, it simply can't stay up. Or control is not important, just get off the ground first. But instead of trying to copy the birds, the Wright brothers could have asked, what are the actual first fundamental principles of flight? And so the first principles of flight. Lift. Air flowing over a curved surface can create upward force just like an owl descending and rotating its wings slightly to let the air create an upward force and rapidly lift up. Then its stability. Controlling the flight and aircraft is more important than just making it fly. Power. Light enough engine is needed, but strong enough to generate sustained flight. So what are the breakthroughs? Instead of flapping wings, they designed fixed wings, letting the airflow do the work. Instead of focusing on takeoff, they invented 3-axis control system, allowing steering and stabilization in the air. Instead of waiting someone to build a light engine for an aircraft, they built their own engine. And so on December 17, 1903, their plane took off in North Carolina, changing the world of flight for a man. But the Wright brothers had a competitor, academically respected Langley, who had better team, bigger budget, top building materials, and paid support from the government and the public eye, reporting his every move. But still, under-budgeted Wright brothers flew their first aircraft before Langley, who later on succeeded in his first flight and became one to be made fun of. Why did the Wright brothers succeed? So Samuel Pierpont Langley, known and respected academically, had friends from influential businessmen and government officials. He was financed by the government with 50,000 intelligent team members. And he's what? He wanted fame and wealth from flight invention. Langley started with what? And he quits after getting beaten, instead of further developing a new invention from Wrights. And the Wright brothers. No college degrees, no influential friends, financed from their bicycle shop earnings, just them and the community they inspired, and to whom taught their beliefs. Their why was inspiration, faith, and passion for flight, and changing the world for the better. Wright brothers started with why. They refined their aircraft and built a company that produced airplanes and trained pilots. According to the Simon Sinek, this is the key element for inspirational, meaningful, and successful entrepreneurship. Starting with your why, followed by what, and ends with how. So we could say a strong enough why and a proper mental model, the first principles, led to the first sustained flight. There is this common habit example. A wife always cuts off both ends of the meatloaf before serving it. Her mother did it, her grandmother did it, so naturally she does it too. But why? She assumes it makes the meatloaf better, yet her grandmother only did it because her serving plate was too small. The method wasn't wisdom, it was necessity. The tradition wasn't truth, it was a circumstance. And so a mistake lived on, passed from the one generation to the next. A habit became a ritual, a method became a rule, a workaround became the way. So, what we think we know is often built on assumptions and not on absolutes. But first principles thinking strips away opinions, shatters assumptions, and dissolves convention until the undeniable, unshakable truth remains. We deconstruct, we analyze, we rebuild. But not from borrowed ideas, but from raw and fundamental truths. This is how Elon Musk didn't just buy rockets, he built them. He didn't just accept battery costs, he broke them down, found better materials, and made them cheaper. And that is why first principles thinking is not an imitation, it is not a tradition, it is not an assumption. So how do you think from first principles? Well, first, identify assumptions. What appears unchangeable but might not be? Second, break the problem down. What remains when everything that is unproven right is stripped away? And third, rebuild from scratch. What can be created using only the core, indisputable truths? Now this is important, because if we never learn to take things apart, test our assumptions, and reconstruct them, we become prisoners of the past, trapped by traditions, shackled by certainty. We could say that everything that is not a law of nature is just a shared belief. I remember the first time like a week ago. I tried eating raw liver and heart like 200 grams and 300 grams from a cow, after experimenting with mostly carnivorous nutrition. And the thing is that liver and hearts are better in their nutritional value when uncooked, as nutrients stay unbroken by the heat. So I tried it out, cutting little 1 to 2 centimeter pieces that were very hard to cut, and tasted the very first time the rawness of flesh, like our ancestors when they had no fire nearby after killing a mammoth, and may have taken some cuts of the organs and ate them right there, since they were starving. But it actually tasted horrible, in the sense of being mostly unflavorless, just some livery taste and weird fatty and chewy meat. A totally unpleasant food experience. But then I noticed how our modern, slightly too ultra processed trashed junk foods are specifically engineered to give the perfect and the most pleasant taste experience for the enjoyment of the person. The addictive chemicals with sugars and everything else to keep us in the belief that any kind of food must always taste great. Otherwise, it's not worth to be eaten. And cementing that belief to us from the moment we are born. But can you see how flawed this thinking is? The assumption, the limiting belief that we often carry around about food. We all know that real organic whole foods doesn't have to taste like addictive drugs. Nutritious organic food is not meant to nuke your taste buds into the overflow of flavors and give you sugar highs or lows and food addictions. Its only job is to give you energy and building materials for your body to thrive and grow. And your taste buds helps to determine if the food is good to eat. And then me eating that raw liver reminded me of how our choices of foods are influenced by social proofs. What's marketed the most and what tastes the most pleasant way. Well, obviously they are not healthy foods. So what is the point of all this? You could solve problems with logic, not imitation, not with feelings, not with tradition, not with assumptions, but with reason, analysis, and truth. So then what? Well, because if you copy the crowd, you follow the limits. If you question the crowd, you break through them. And that's the first principles thinking. And that's if you build something new, not by walking in the footsteps of the others, but by paving your own road. So what should you do now? If we never learn to take something apart, test our assumptions about it, and reconstruct it, we end up bound by what other people tell us, trapped in the way things have always been done. So you can solve complicated situations with reason and logic, but not with your flawed feelings, assumptions, or by imitation, analogy, and social proofs. You thought the first principles are golden method to all of our problems? Maybe. But it has benefits like innovation fostering, when we are stripping away components that could be improved and create something new. It can give better understanding because you truly get to know everything of the subject once you know its baseline components of what it's truly made of. Critical thinking, a heavy work of analyzing and researching to find true natural law-based facts, and assumption challenging, leading to more sturdy and stronger solutions. But it also has negative sides, because it's time-consuming, since opinion and assumption identifications, deconstructing and rebuilding the solution, and it may not even be actually practical in time-sensitive situations. Secondly, it's very resource-intense in mental and physical resources, as it demands a deep dive to the problem. And thirdly, there is a risk with the oversimplification and abandoning the practical complexities the complex nuances and the complex relationships of the things that may result in a totally impractical solution. And that's it. Now to the practical side, the shovel and its reinvention. When people first used to dig, they dug with their hands or with a flattened piece of wood, or bone or stone shovels apparently, since that's what the sources say, that we may have started using shovels around 5,000 to 12,000 years ago. But Göbekli Tepe, supposedly the world's first temple, an enormous stone structure place, were inhabited, according to some sources, 13,000 to 11,500 years ago, when we were supposedly hunter-gatherers, and yet could build stone monuments and had to modify earth with only their hands, since there were apparently no shovels in that time, right? Right? So what do you think about the working efficiency on building this project? It's very hard. We don't have the proper tools to move the earth, to dig a hole, and to make a proper foundation. But luckily, we had some help from our flying friends from the underground building these monoliths, right? As a warning for the possible chance of a devastating huge comet strike from the Torre meteor shower. Because life as civilization ending comet strikes have happened before, and they may happen again. Do you ever think that this thing will happen again in the future? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just a worker, but it could happen every year after the summer. Now, regardless of the fear of meteor strikes from the Torre meteor shower from the debris of Encke mega comet every year from September to October, we still prospered, and eventually invented those marvelous pieces of engineering for digging and started using better tools and heavy machinery for earth moving. And we kind of evolved and mastered the efficiency and the time needed for the massive undertakings of earth moving and construction. As I imagined and reenacted how people may have used to dig in prehistoric times and tried it out myself, using a flattened piece of wood for a shovel, I found myself getting bored and frustrated rather quickly. I can only move so little earth at a time, even if the shovel would be more flat. Eventually something breaks or the blade part grinds away since it's made of wood. Its durability is low and the work efficiency is kind of bad. I can imagine how angry people got since their shovels did so minimum work at a time. Thank goodness that we improved our tools so that our everyday work is much more fulfilling, happier, and satisfying. So we have more comfort in our lives and everything is much more easier and better. But is this the most efficient position for shoveling? And is the modern shovel the most efficient for small scale earth moving? If I would shovel in the same position the whole workday, my back says it's not that great position to shovel. So there is a problem. Me being in a hunched position, digging or moving loose earth from one place to another while it starts to strain and hurt my back. The modern problems of the construction workers. I mean, look at those idiots. Uncomfy, hunchbacked, one hand on the handle and the other hand holding on the middle of the stick and shoveling. This is not an effective way to use a shovel. It hurts your back, and it's pretty dumb, actually. Those guys out there using a shovel in that way, they aren't the most sharpest pencils out there, and they don't know anything about shoveling and doing intelligent work. It's just sad to see human effort gone to waste. And to test out how bad this method is, I tried out shoveling this pile of gravel from one place to another, by imagining that I have a job to fill a hole with my big shovel multiple times and not finish too fast. I couldn't even last over 5 minutes before I got so tired, and I didn't even get half of the work done before I had to pause and rest. Although the tool I have is a spade and not a shovel, which has more curved up sides and a bent blade to make it easier to do this kind of work. But I decided I will use the most common type of spade and call it a shovel, since their shapes and names have changed throughout the times. So anyways, this hunched position is really not that great in the long term, and it probably shaves years off your lifespan. So we should definitely have some better ways of doing this shoveling work. But then what do I and everybody else knows? There are so many questions unanswered, like why do we exist? Will our species live long enough to witness the death of the universe? And what happens with the existence after that? Who built these structures and how? Is free will just an illusion? And every decision I've ever made was already determined? Or if a deaf person gives someone a handjob, does it count as a oral sex? Or the other way around? Alright, let's not get out of the focus here. Back to the shoveling question. The problem is having to hunch your back to hold the shovel, and it tires you back faster. But what if you could just stand on it straight and still shovel? But then your now empty left hand also needs to grab the shovel somehow to do the same work. A shovel seems to have three components: the blade, the frame stick, and the handle. What if you could modify the frame stick by adding an additional frame stick handle to the same position you used to grab the shovel with your left hand, to still hold the shovel with your both hands and still be straight? At first, I thought I could motivate my shovel with the self-improvement and the motivational speeches to get it to change itself in a way that is good for the both of us. It will upgrade its class and be better, and it won't strain my back from using it. A win-win for both of us.
And today, only for you, today, this price is 4,099.7.
But no matter how much I try to motivate it, or seducing and persuading it with sweet talk, I just could not get it on. It just did not get it to change itself. Well, if you want to do something done properly, you do it yourself. So I will do it myself, and it just has to tag along and watch. So this is one amongst the many projects I'm glad to finally be able to finish. So, the bend over project being the next. I decided to just buy a blade part and cut out the socket and weld it on to a complete shovel. But I noticed that this blade is coated, and with welding I would inhale toxic fumes. And to avoid that, I came up with the idea to copy underwater welding on land by using a snorkel with a tube, so I could get fresh, non-toxic air from the cleaner room in the house. But with the welding part, I could not get the spark going to weld it together, and I thought the coating of the blade prevents the spark from happening, so I tested with the other one, with the more exposed steel part, which I heard is great standing against jet fuel, and got it to work, and I welded right through the socket. And I think I can't weld this thin sheet metal socket to any shovel blade, since it's just too thin and it doesn't last long enough to make the connection with the other part. I mean, look at this misery. No way I could attach this thing to the other part with welding. So I go for the bolts and nuts connection. But I got to straighten and smooth this thing up, so it will fit almost like a puzzle piece to the blade, and then drill angled holes through them both. And after snapping my drill bit from the first try and wore out the second drill bit, I somehow managed to attach it to the blade part quite good. But as you noticed, I now had to attach the wooden handle in and drill the holes through it exactly to match the holes on the socket part. and also make the shaft of the stick thinner on both ends. So I just grab the first tool I would think does the job. And somehow managed to create what pretty much looks like the one I wanted. And I just had to try it out on the random trash just to see how it feels. And after some finishing touches, there it is, a shovel that unravels your gravels. A technological breakthrough of shoveling to stay through the ages. For when we are mining metals on asteroids in the future, my newly invented bend-over shovel is still used by the asteroid miners. What the hell? Hey, you wanna help me out with this one? Let's go.
1343 stopping the vehicle central and 40th in place. 13L30 is behind the unit.
But now the second test. And it feels good. I'm straight and my back won't get tired. But I noticed I just use my hands and abs a lot more to do the same kind of work. And by measuring the recorded time while I started and finished working, I found that I removed somewhat 90% of this pile of gravel back again in around 3 minutes, which is like almost 2 minutes faster work compared to the previous shovel, which seems definitely an improvement. And in fact, thanks to the first principles thinking, shoveling is now so much better that I've also discovered new opportunities for future hobbies like gardening. Now I just love digging holes, maybe planting in some trees or bushes or flowers and filling up the hole. I feel like I would actually help to contribute back for the sake of Mother Nature and to the society as well, and weakening the effects of deforestation just a little bit. I just want to keep hearing the sounds of nature. We need it, but Mother Nature needs our help. But still, with the shoveling, I wasn't sure enough of it actually being more beneficial. I could have biases to work faster than I did with the last test. So I hired this average construction worker
Hi.
to compete against me and to see if my advanced shovel and my best effort could beat this guy's regular shovel and his best efforts, with also motivation to win. since he would get 75 euros from me, but I would get to prove that my invaluable invention works. But if I lose, I would have to spin the online wheel of doom of punishments, so the stakes are pretty high. We set out to prepare the digging site for a competition with two equally sized holes and piles next to them. The rules are simple. Only scooping is allowed and no pushing with the shovel or something else. It's either my shovel with my standing up position or this regular shovel with hunched back. So why do you think you will win?
Because I trust my shovel. I'm stronger, faster, and I got more endurance than him. Why do you think you're gonna win?
Because this shovel is just more effective than this regular shovel, and sometimes effectiveness is more than a raw brute strength, as you will see in the following minutes. When you're ready, throw it up.
So let's go.
And as you can see, I was doomed right from the beginning. I started from the backside of the pile and losing time, and the second handle of my shovel seems to be too long, keeping my right hand in overarching position and not really allowing me to use it to lift the shovel up in full efficiency as it was meant to. It was difficult to pull up the shovel while my right hand was already halfway in the pulling up motion and having to resort to my core and sides for this real lever type lifting motion. I thought I was building a solution. Turns out I was building a moment I'd regret. But my competitor have it smooth. He is hunched over and he can use both of his hands exactly the way he needs to, scoop in and provide a full lift with his other hand that is also fully extended to the starting position of the lift, but with increased risk of tiring up his back. It wasn't even a half of the pile when I got so tired from scooping from one side that I tried to switch position and used left side of my body. That's hopefully not so tired. And at the same time, my competitor had already finished over half of his pile. Then he pushed and smoothed out the remaining sand on the side to what I panicked, hoping to disqualify him and win the competition, because I got to have a bad feeling about this. Since he was leading with already 10 scoops ahead of me, I started to realize the obviousness of the situation. I'm going to lose. My invention failed.
I fled.
But it wasn't the shovel that was a failure. It was the fantasy I had about winning. But still you can notice my competitor is now also standing up more and hunching again, slowing down his scoops just a little bit. At this point I already knew I'm going to lose. While my competitor was leading now with 20 scoops ahead of me, as I was so tired, he was in the moments away from winning. At the same time, I was trying to clear out the mess I left from the remainder of my pile. But I had to finish it, just to see how long it takes me, and even allowed myself to slow down and recover a little. And the victorious. He was calm, he was quick, he was relentless. Then me with my power, that resembles something like a very heavily used children's sandbox. I was rather proud of my competitor, since I probably got a feeling to let him win and not be ashamed. So I take that hit myself and knowingly perform slower than him. Or I was just shittier, slower, tired faster, and my shovel impaired my technique and lost because of that. This is where the arrogance ends. This is where humility begins. This is where invention grows teeth.
Okay, we win. So since somehow I lost, there has to be some kind of a punishment for my over confidence, right? Sometimes it backfires, right? So there has to be some kind of a consequences. So like, as you can see now, I have these punishments lined up in here. I just copy them into, I refresh it. As you can see, it's all legit and right, okay? And now they're all here. And now I have to press like this. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Walk home from town with my bare feet. Okay, but I will do this, no matter what.
So the punishment for the foolish overconfidence from only the first trial and not further field testing my minimal viable product, I will now have to walk home from town with my bare feet, no matter what happens. Luckily, my competitor was kind enough to drop me off from my home to the edge of the town.
This is the place?
This is the place.
Okay.
Get out now.
He drove me here in comfort. I turned my way back in pain. The start of my way back home. No shoes, no victory, no mercy. Just asphalt, gravels, and a man learning how not to win.
So this is my long way to home.
And right from the start, I realized the road of pain I have ahead. The cute tiny pieces of gravel to step into and hurt my feet for hundreds of times again. While trying to cross the roads when I was not supposed to and not to be run over, I tried to get out of here as fast as I could, while the spectators watched some crazy guy walking bare feet on the dirty roadside. I could feel their piercing judgments. Every step got deeper than the last, but not into my feet, into my ego. Thinking about it, it was just a bad prototype.
I can now figure and think about what went wrong.
With only one test and one iteration, which was not enough according to the common product development for a minimal viable product.
And you might think that walking on this road, this asphalt road, is pretty easy, right? But I tell you, it's my toe walking tactic is it's working, but it still hurts, you know. It still hurts nonetheless, because there's those little pebbles on, like you know, like this one here, right? And when they get stuck, they just hurt like hell. Ah, fuck. Fucking shit. Those little pebbles are driving me mad already. I fucking hate them.
After contemplating about the loss, avoiding sharp pebbles and the looks of confusion from people passing by, I reached the first neighborhood of town, which I used as a checkpoint and a reminder of how much more I have ahead.
I walked all that way up here. Now let's see how my feet are doing. Looking good. Looking good also. This part is just filled with those fucking pebbles. Fuck! Oh. Well, you just really don't want to do what I do now and walk bare feet on this pile of shit.
But after whining of how bad that journey is, I found my first treasure along the road, That boosted my morale and gave me hope for the future. And I got myself a new glove.
You never know when you're gonna need one.
And in a moments of elevated mood, I even found a spot to enjoy the sights of the surroundings and rest a little, reminding how long I have already walked.
That's a nice bench. Oh, this sand is so good. Sweet, soft, gets everywhere, irritating. But yeah, this sand is nice. And I might as well enjoy the view. Endless grass fields from every corner, even from back. All right, let's keep going.
But it did not stop there. I even met a new friend along the way.
Look at this. Hey, Bob. Where are you going? Are you going home? Going home to a family? Hello, Bob. You're so nice. Have a good day, Bob.
And another one.
I'm gonna call him or her Jack. Or if it's a her, it's Mary. Hi, Mary. You're looking quite busy today. Have a good day, Mary. That looks cool, right? Coming all right from up there. As you can see now, I've walked the majority of my journey, and now I have the most difficult part ahead of me. The dirt road with this loose gravel and those little stones that are just so shitty and bad and painful, because my feet are already killing me, sort of. It's like, oh shit. That's so bad. And look how far I had to walk. If I go like toe first, it will hurt even more. But if I go like flat foot, like the toes and the heels also, it's a little less painful. Ow, ooh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Shit. This is so bad. God.
And nearing at the end of the punishment, I did not saw this as a punishment anymore. I thought I was creating a tool to change the world. Turns out the world created this road to change me. Because by the time I reached my door, I didn't think that I've lost anymore. I felt like I'd simply paid the price of becoming more real through this journey and enjoy it.
I can see the end. The light at the end. I can see the light. Ow. Ow. The light at the end of my journey. So What did I learn from this journey? Well, the saying that the journey is more important than the destination, and it's 100% true. I got to learn a thing or two about myself, how strong my feet are or how weak they are. I made 2 friends. Bob, I married. I found treasure. So yeah, it's totally not about the destination. It's the journey that matters. Ready? Throw it.
So let's go.
Somehow, I lost. Oh my god. What am I gonna do? But I will do this, no matter what.
Get up now.
Oh, I can see the end. Delighted.
In general, I do believe that first principles are a very effective way to invent and solve problems. And here's why.
So remember the pros and cons of the first principles thinking. It can drive innovation, it can give better understanding, and it encourages critical thinking.
He's got a gun! We have him surrounded!
Go!
Be advised, suspect is armed and extremely dangerous.
You just saw what it took for me to build this video from scratch. As a single creator, while working at a full-time job, staying in shape, and pushing through every excuse and problem. But I didn't get there by chance or luck. I built systems, the protocols, and the tactics, from months of trials and errors, that now recently made me more disciplined, sharper, and energetic than I have ever been. All of that without pills or toys. Therefore, I put them into one resource, the Iron Manual. It's the checklist I wished I had when I first started out. a checklist of my best methods for driving myself into peak state performance and also maintaining it. I used to need to sleep like 9 or more hours every day and still wake up tired. But now I sleep like 5 to 7 hours daily and wake up before the alarm clock and wake up with the same energy levels of feeling like I could conquer the world or go into a marathon right now. I used to not care about my craft and wanted to slack off all the time and was just unmotivated to finish. But now my craft is my top priority. Thanks to the social psychology and the influence principles. I used to work out 3 to 5 times a week and get little growth. But now I work out 1 to 3 times a week, still get growth, and maintain my form. If you're building something after hours, if it's your body, your craft, your business, or you're on the mission, then I have something to offer to you. Click on the link below, start now. And if you're not sure, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. No pressure and no risk. But high performance starts with action. Goodbye.